Welcome back everybody to the Porterverse Workbench. For this episode, we'll be covering a model outside of the Porterverse itself. This is also a model that I've been wanting to make for a number of years now. A model so crazy, so shocking, and so serious that it'll leave you in a tizzy of emotions. Here is my model of Squidward. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Fire Porter. Why the fuck would you make Squidward into a train? Well, it's pretty simple. A few years ago, around 2016 or so I believe, the Thomas Minis line, you know, that blind bag thing that was actually pretty decent, they released two multi-packs that were around the SpongeBob characters. Each Thomas character in the pack represented a SpongeBob character. So Thomas was SpongeBob, Percy was Patrick, Porter was Barnacle Boy, Toby was SpongeBob again, and Gordon was Squidward. And what I'm showing you right now is official merchandise licensed by Mattel. I wish I was joking. And a couple years ago, around 2021 or 2022-ish, I was just chilling in my room, I don't remember what I was doing, when the thought hit me. What if I became the first person in the world to make a realistic model of the Squidward Gordon mini? No one's ever done that before, right? That was the moment where I became very adamant on making this model one day. Eventually, a couple weeks ago, I came across a Bachman Gordon listing for a fairly reasonable price compared to all the other price gouging users on eBay. And so I quickly bought it, and when it arrived, I got to work. Squidward was a fairly easy model to make. He is simply a Bachman Gordon repainted into Squidward's colors. I first started off with the tender. I sanded down the numbering and lining on the sides using sandpaper. I first used a rough grit, 150 to be exact, and then I followed that with some wet sanding with 3000 grit. This makes for a very smooth finish. Following that, I applied my usual brush on gray acrylic as the primer. If you're familiar with my videos, I've done this for nearly every model I've made. After that, I had to wait before continuing. As you see, Squidward's skin tone is this weird pale turquoisey color, which Barrel does not make, or even anything remotely close to that for that matter, and so I had to order a custom mixture. My friend James, aka Soda Stupidity on Twitter, go follow him immediately, recommended me Tamiya XF23 for the skin tone, and so I quickly searched on Amazon, found some, and got it shipped to me. And while I waited for it to arrive, I continued with the other parts of the model wherever I could. I painted the boiler in Apple Barrel Chestnut. This is the same orangish brown shade that I used on Pip and Emma. I also plan to use this on any Clarabelle and Henrietta when the time comes to make them. After that, I did what was totally my favorite part of modeling. Painting the wheels. I absolutely hate this step. This step is very tedious and very hard to pull off right. I just took the easy route, and I just shoved the brush behind the valve gear to paint the wheels. This was a very, very tedious process. After that whole nightmare that was wheel painting, I waited around for the next few days, and then the special paint finally arrived. I brushed on the Tamiya XF23 onto the smoke box, valve gear, tender, cab, face, etc. After about 2-ish coats or so, I did the finer details on the model. This involved going over the boiler bands in gold, going over the handrails in silver, painting the cab roof in cab interior black, and the model's running board gray. I also painted the eyes a pale yellow. This right here is the most cursed image I've ever taken in my life. I kept the cab and tender void of any lining and numbering. I know that the Minis counterpart does have the lighting in the number 4s, but I figured the model here would look a little bit better without it. It is meant to be Squidward more so than Gordon anyways. So yeah. After that, I added the clarinet. The Thomas Mini Squidward has the clarinet printed on the sides, and I wanted to find a way to translate this little detail into the model. I took one of the megaphone prints that I used for my Porterverse models, painted it black, and then added 3 silver dots to indicate for clarinets. Simple yet effective. After all of that, Squidward was finally done. This is easily the most cursed model in my collection. It is quite the masterpiece of monstrosity, if that makes any sense. If you're wondering, yes, I do plan to make many more non-Porterverse models in the future. Maybe even Gary, but who knows. I also have other modeling projects planned as well, but a lot of those won't manifest until I have my own house, which is probably years out right now. One of them is actually to recreate Action Canyon for HL00 scale. We'll just have to wait and see. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Porterverse Workbench, and I shall see you all same time next week.